Alrighty, what's up, guys? So today I'm going to show you how to create this. I'm almost 100% positive this is how NIUM pulled it off, the way I'm going to show you today. But you got the depth handling in there, you've got the perspective shifting and the rotating, and it looks super nice. And it's really pretty easy to pull off, honestly. So anyway, let's not waste too much time, and let's jump on over to that, huh? Alright. Sorry if the screen goes white. There we go. Alrighty. Exit out of this. Alright, so far in the project I've got 2 objects and 2 sprites. Just a regular old box sprite stack, nothing crazy. And then I've just got a player, right? Just a regular old sprite player. I've got object box and object player. Nothing really going on in there. I just set them up. So alrighty, so the first thing that we need to do, or the first thing that I want to do anyway, is I want to go ahead and create the camera before we do anything with actually drawing the sprites. Let's go ahead and create the camera. So I'm going to create a group. I'm going to call this system. It's just what I like to do. And then we'll create an object, and we're just going to call it camera. When it comes to like more global type of objects, I don't personally use the obj underscore, the snake case, lower snake case style. I just for things like rendering or the camera, whatever, main things that you're only really going to have one of, and they're like a huge part of the game system, I just do that. But you can name it obj camera if you want. So all right, first thing, let's create a create event, and we're going to set up some macros, because we, throughout the project, and especially once you get into actually trying to build a game out of this, you're going to use a lot of these functions often, and it's always a good practice to not try and repeat code, so you can use macros. So let's do region, and we're going to say camera macros, end region, and then I'm going to create another region, and we're going to say screen macros, end region. All right, so in the camera macros, let's set up macro camera x, camera get view x, view camera 0, and do not put a semicolon at the end. Macros do not like that. Alright, so I'm just going to copy and paste this a couple times, and we're just going to change a couple things. So this one's going to be camera y. I'm going to say camera get view y. This one's going to be camera width. See, camera get view width. This one will be camera height. Camera get view height. This one will be camera angle. This will be get camera angle. And then separate that one. Then the last one is going to be pitch. So this is our perspective. And we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to say camera.pitch, and we're going to set up that variable in just a second. And then camera up, which is negative camera angle plus 90. So this is just the up vector. So once you have all your camera macros set up, we can just close that down. Let me make sure I got everything. XY width, height, angle, pitch. XY width, height, angle, pitch, up. Cool. All right, next thing that I like to do is all these screen things. So we're going to say macro window height is window get width. Macro window width is window get height. Ugh, I did these backwards. I don't know why I did that. Sorry, window height, window get height, window width, window get width. Let's do macro display width, display get width. Macro display height is display get height. Macro GUI width is display get GUI width. And macro GUI height, display get GUI height. We're pretty much not going to use these last four, but I just think it's a good thing to have set up, so that way, that's just a good thing to always have, because typing this out every time you want to, draw menus and figure out what position you want, it's just a pain. So just a good practice to go ahead and get into. I probably wouldn't put these in the camera object necessarily, just for organizational purposes, but it is what it is, just for this tutorial. All right, so we've got some screen macros, we got some camera macros set up. Now this pitch here, we're going to set up some variables now, some local variables. So set up local variables. We're going to say OG width. So the original width of the camera is just camera width. OG height is camera height. And we're going to need that. We're going to need these OG height, width, and heights. If you ever want to zoom in and out, these are the variables that you're going to need to change with zooming. So just keep that in mind for the future. All right, we're going to say pitch variables. So this is the pitch or the perspective. We're going to say pitch equals 1, pitch min. So the smallest it can go is 1. I wouldn't go lower than that. You can try it out. You'll see why. And then pitch max we'll set to 4. And you can make that higher. The higher the pitch max is, the more like first person perspective you'll get. But if you get too far down, then obviously you'll see the gaps in between the sprite layers. So I just use 4. I think it's a good pitch maximum. And then we'll set up a lerping or a smoothing variable too. So that way we can smooth our view around. So we'll say pitch 2 is equal to pitch. And let's just say smoothing. All right, now let's set up the rotational variables. And we're going to say angle is equal to 0, and then angle 2 is equal to camera angle. And much like this pitch 2 up here, this is for smoothing the camera rotation. So we'll do another smoothing. All right, that's all we need to set up for that. So now let's go into the step event and create a region called update camera into region. You don't have to put these regions, but I find them good for organizational purposes. So I'm going to show you how to pitch and rotate using the keyboard keys and the mouse as well, because I get questions about how to do that. So we're going to say if mouse check button MB left. So this is just if we're clicking the mouse, then if we're holding the mouse button down, then let's rotate the camera by the mouse position and everything. So we're going to say pitch 2 is plus equal to negative window height times 0.5 minus window mouse get Y times 0.005. I find that that's a good, because our pitch is only between 1 and 4, you're going to want to use a smaller variable or a smaller sensitivity to actually pitch it up and down with. So then we'll say angle 2 is plus equal to negative window width times 0.5. Add a space here too. Oh, I added the space to the wrong part. Bam, there we go. Window width times 0.5 minus window mouse get X times 0.1. And then let's make a comment, set cursor to center of screen. So we'll say window mouse set, window width times 0.5, window height times 0.5. All right, so that's just a way to rotate and pitch the camera using the mouse if clicked. Then we want to do keyboard rotation and pitch. So we're going to say pitch 2 is plus equal to keyboard check check VK down, minus keyboard, check VK up, times 0.1, and then angle 2 is plus equal to keyboard, check VK right, minus keyboard, check VK left, times 0 or 4. We'll just multiply that by 4. So you can play with all these values to get the right sensitivity that you want per mouse or keyboard. The reason that I'm using negatives here is you can if you get rid of these negative points right here, it'll just invert the way the mouse moves around. So just get those to your liking, play with those, and get it how you like. Alright, so next we need to clamp our pitch. So we're going to say pitch 2 is equal to clamp pitch 2, pitch min, and pitch max. So that way, when we're lerping the camera around, it won't go too far up or too far down. So now we just need to update our pitch and angle variables. So we're going to say pitch is equal to lerp pitch to pitch 2 by 0.1. Angle is equal to lerp pitch, or angle 2 by 0.1. And then update the camera. So first we're going to rotate, which is camera set view angle view camera 0 to the angle, if I can spell. So essentially we are lerping our angle with either our mouse or our keyboard here, and then we're going to set the actual camera angle to that angle. Easy, simple, basic. The pitching is where it gets a little weird and different. So essentially how we are going to get that perspective shifting is we're going to stretch the view by our pitch amount, and then we're going to reposition it, right? So it gives off the illusion that you're actually perspective shifting, but realistically all you're doing is just squishing and stretching the viewport, and then just positioning it correctly. So we're going to say camera set view size, view camera 0. We're going to use that OG width variable, OG height times our pitch, right? Then we need to say camera set view position, view camera 0. We're going to set the X to 0. We don't want to move it anyway that way. Then we're going to use our OG height multiplied by 1 minus pitch times 0.5. So this will always make sure that the camera view stays in the correct position in the room. So we're going to multiply the original, because if the original height is just the height, right? Like we're not pitching the camera at all. We're gonna then 1 minus 1, right? Because the minimum pitch is 1. 1 minus 1 0 times 0.5, which is 0. So then you multiply all that by this, and that's 0, right? So then the camera position will be at 0 0. We haven't pitched the camera, but if we go say 2, 1 minus 2 is negative 1 times 0.5, so negative 0.5 times the height. So we're going to move it down or up or whatever by half of what the original height was, right? So if the original height is 360, then that'll be negative 180. So that's how that works. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, yeah, that's how you do that. And that's all we have to set up for the camera. We can let's create a room real quick. I'm going to call this room test. I'm just going to set it to like a small value for right now. 640 by 360. 640 by 360. Let's make the background. Actually, let's add a little background sprite here. So create sprite background, because you'll see how what's nice about squishing the view like that is that you can use tile sets, whatever, and everything will like squish properly, right? So let's just create a little checkered grid there. We'll add our background here. So we got a little background. Let's just go ahead and add our player in here and our boxes. We haven't done anything with them yet, and these boxes are probably going to animate randomly. But you'll see the effect happening, and then I'll show you what we need to do next. So go ahead, run the game. Let me make sure I switch it over real quick. All right. Oh, hold on. We've got to actually enable the viewports, huh? So, all right, go back over to the room real quick. Enable viewports. Enable viewport 1. I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see it. I hate how small that this is. We're going to close that. All right, so you can see this. So we've got the viewport enabled. Enable viewport 0. Set this to 640 by 360. So that's just the size of the room. And then make this like 1280 by 720 just so you can see it pretty good. And now let's play and see how it looks. All right, let me jump on over here. All right. As you can see, if you click and hold the mouse, look at that. Everything's rotating around. Now, we haven't got the sprites set up, but see that how that background, isn't that cool? Everything like basically rotates perfectly. And yeah, isn't that cool looking? So that's how you create the camera, right, with the perspective shifting. But now we need the actual sprite stacks to stand up, right, because everything's just flat. So let's jump back over to our project here. Alrighty. Now we need to create some scripts, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to create a new group called scripts. We're going to create a script called SS scripts. Get rid of all that. I'm going to move this out of the way. All right. So in our SS scripts here, this is where we're going to create our new like draw functions, right? So first thing we're going to do is just like regular, right? So you have like draw sprite and then draw sprite ext. We're going to do the same thing but for stacking, right? So we're going to say draw sprite stack. So this is going to be function draw sprite stacked spur x y, and then let's go ahead and comment in some parameters here. Param sprite index at param x at param y. Okay, just so that way whenever we go to like type this into our thing, it won't like, whenever it shows this down here, you see how it says sprite index x and y. It just looks better. Do it that way. All right, so we're going to say do our kind of regular sprite stacking stuff, but with a couple extra things. So we're going to say for var I equals 0. I is less than sprite get number spur. I is plus plus. And then we're going to say var ldx is equal to length dir x I times camera pitch. And by camera up, that macro that we set up. So the reason that we're multiplying the I by the camera pitch is basically when we squish the view, we want to separate the layers between the sprite stacks, right? So that way it doesn't just shrink the model. If you get rid of this multiply by camera pitch, after I show you how to create these scripts, you'll see what I mean. But essentially, you're squishing the view, so you need to increase the size of the sprite stack, if that makes sense. So we're going to say var ldx, var ldy is equal to length dir y, I times camera pitch, camera up. Same thing. Then we just need to draw a sprite. Draw sprite, spur I, x plus ldx, y plus ldy. Make sure all that turns right. Yep. Cool. So we've got a regular sprite drawn. Let's go ahead and do the draw sprite stacked ext. Draw sprite stacked ext. Draw sprite stacked ext. and we'll copy some of these parameters here because we need X scale, Y scale, angle, blend, and then an alpha as well. So XY, this will be X scale, Y scale, angle, blend, and then we'll do one more at param alpha. Always forget the alpha. Then up here, we're going to add X scale, Y scale, angle, blend, and alpha, right? So it's kind of like a regular draw sprite ext, and the only thing we need to change is here, and just put those values in there. So we'll just add X scale, Y scale, angle, blend, and alpha. So now we've got a draw sprite ext for sprite stacking and a regular draw sprite. All right, next thing that we need to do is draw for our player billboards, right? So it's going to be a draw billboard, and we're going to kind of do the same thing where we've got draw sprite billboard and then draw sprite billboard ext. So we're going to say function draw sprite billboard spur the image index X and Y. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see this better. All right, sorry about that. Copy this little parameter thing up here, and we're going to add one parameter after the sprite index. That's param image index. All right, so for this, for billboards, we're just going to draw a regular sprite, right? So draw sprite ext. It's going to be our spur, our index, X, and Y. But since it's just draw sprite billboard, not draw sprite billboard ext, we're going to set the X scale to 1. For now, we're going to set the Y scale to 1. That's not going to, you're going to see why that won't work, and how we're going to fix it. But for now, just set the Y scale to 1. And then for the rotation, we're going to say negative camera angle, right? Because we want it to always face the camera, right? That's the idea of a billboard. And then C white and 1. Oh, if I can spell it. C white and 1. Okay. So just take that script, copy it on down, and we'll do the ext. Ext, go up here and up to the X scale here. Just copy all that and paste that there. Add a little comma after the Y. Take all these little parameters right here, copy those, boom, sprite index, image index, X, Y, X scale, Y scale, angle, blend, and alpha. And then in here we're going to say image, or we're going to say X scale, Y scale, we're going to say angle minus the camera angle. We're going to say blend, and then actually let's get rid of the angle because it's a billboard. Why do we need to rotate it, really? You know, I mean, you can, but and that's how you would do it. But it's a billboard. Why not? All right. So boom, 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 boom. Let's get rid of this angle here. Parameter. All right. Did I mess something up? What's the issue? Draw sprite ext, draw billboard ext, sprite index, image index, xy, scale, y scale, rotation, color, and alpha. I don't know why I'm getting a error. Unknown function attribute draw sprite ext. I don't know why that error is popping up. Oh, I didn't. Boom. I bet that fixes it. Bam. Okay, cool. I didn't have this little guy here. All right, so that's our billboard ext, our draw sprite ext, right? We're going to have to come back in a second and fix this, and I'll show you how. We're going to have to use some forced perspective stuff on it. But let's just go ahead and in the sprites. Go to our object box, and in the draw event, we're going to say draw sprite stacked sprite index X and Y. Simple enough. Then in our player object, go draw sprite billboard, and sprite index, image index, X and Y. Alrighty, so now if we play the game, our you'll see that our stuff, hold on, let me switch it over real quick. Alright, you'll see that our boxes now, look at that. There's some depth issues. We're going to fix that in a second. The boxes actually look, you know, perspectively fairly correct. I mean, you get a little bit of weirdness there, you know, but for the most part, doesn't that look cool? That looks awesome. Now, you can see that the player rotates correctly around, right? Like a billboard. But, oh no, he's all squished up on the ground. So that's that Y scale thing I was talking about, right? So to fix that, we're going to basically force the perspective. So let's jump back over here. And what we're going to do is go into our SS scripts here, and then under this billboard section, under the Y scale right here, where it says 1, we're going to say camera pitch. And then on this right here with the Y scale, we're going to say multiplied by camera pitch. So that way it'll basically stretch the image by how much we're actually pitched down. So if we play it now, you will see that it will work correctly. And it looks awesome. Look at that. Look at that. Alright, now, as you saw, like right here, you can see that there's some depth issues. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to fix that depth problem. Okay? So let's jump back over to our tutorial thing here. Boom. And we're going to add one last script. And then this script is called depth handling. And I actually picked this up from Sam DeLaughter, whatever you say, however you say it, depth script. So shout out to him. Oh, I wrote his name. I've added a D there. Sam DeLaughter. All right, so we're going to say function depth set 3D. All right. So we got depth set 3D, and what we're going to say is we're going to say depth equals the dot product of our x, y, length dir x1 camera up, and then length dir y1 camera up minus 1,000. All right, so type that in, and that'll give you the proper depth depending on how the camera's rotated. Let's go into our object player here, and in the in step, just add depth set 3D. Copy that, and then in the in step of our box here, put that as well. Now let's play it and check it out. Alrighty. Now, look, all the depths are perfect. Those depths fixed now. Everything will be at the proper depth. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, now let's just move the player around a little bit. Jump back over here. Last little thing. Last stretch here, guys. So let's go into our object player. And in the step event, we are just going to, let me get my notes real quick, do some movement. Alright, so we're going to say var v, so for vertical, is equal to keyboard check ord s minus keyboard check ord w. And then we'll say var h is equal to keyboard check ord d minus keyboard check ord a. Alright, that just gets if we're, pressing up, down, left, right. We'll create a var spud to 2. We'll just set it to 2. And then we're going to say if v is not equal to 0 or h is not equal to 0. Right? So if we're moving, if we're pressing keys, we're going to say direction is equal to point direction 0, 0, h v minus the camera angle. Right, so this will make sure that we're always moving up if we're pressing up, left, pressing left, etc., no matter how we're rotated. And then we're just going to say speed is equal to lerp. Speed to spud by 0.3. And then down here, we're going to say else. So if we're not pressing any of the keys, we're going to say speed is equal to lerp. Speed 0.3. And, all right, play the game and check it out. Move the player around and see how it's looking. Jump on over. Alrighty. So if we do that, look, perfect depth handling. You can rotate the camera around. You can use the keyboard keys to rotate the camera up and down, left and right, the mouse, and it all works. Isn't that just awesome, guys? So like I said, again, this isn't the most efficient method, right? Because you are drawing, I mean, that's 32, 64, 96, 128, you know, so 4 of those is already 128 sprites being drawn, right? So, it's not the most efficient method. You would probably want to draw more billboards, like for trees. That's how NIUM, that's how he did it to help kind of get the performance better, is instead like how this player's drawn, he would just have like little trees that are just billboards like that, and then only essential items that needed to be sprite stacked would be. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that, and hopefully in the future I'll have a much more efficient system for you. But essentially, this is how it works. Like I said, I'm almost 100% positive that this is how NIUM did this is how he did his sprite stacking, depth handling, camera view, all of that. So anyway, guys, I hope y'all enjoy and have fun. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. It's at GameDevGizmo. I would love to just send me some stuff. I just really like seeing what you guys come up with. I've met so many people recently that are like, "Oh, I followed your tutorials," and I'm like, "Oh, well, let me see. I want to see it." I think it's just so cool seeing what you guys come up with, and I'm just happy to be able to share this information with you guys. So make sure to follow me over there. You can do the whole like and subscribe thing, whatever. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this and have fun, man. Until next time, peace.